How's it going, everyone? It's Pat, your friendly internet wordsmith, and today we are going to be going over writing female characters in fiction. And speaking of female characters, we also have an announcement to make. We have broken into our first 10 subs here on the channel. That's right, we have hit the 10 sub milestone. And yes, I do realize that 10 subs in the grand scheme of things isn't really that much, but I do consider it a big milestone for me. So I would like to thank you guys for your support, and I'm looking forward to pumping out more content. Regarding my giveaway contest for the $50 Amazon gift card, with 10 subs, you guys have reached your first hint. So here it is. My assistant's name has something to do with space, as in outer space. As a reminder, all you have to do to win this contest is first, sub to the channel, and second, be the first to correctly guess my system's name in the comments down below. For every 10 subs we get on the channel, I'll be revealing another hint to help you get closer to that, and I will be accepting one guess per video. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to today's video. Much too often in fiction, female characters aren't portrayed very well. Personally, I feel like there's a bit of a double standard here, in that female characters can be written just as poorly as a male character, maybe even less so, but it'll be the female character that gets more slack. That sucks really hard, but without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video, and I will give you my advice on how to write compelling female characters, starting with my first tip, and that is to try to leave gender out of the equation. Now, I'm sure I just lost a few of you there, but don't worry, I will explain what I mean. So what I mean by try to leave gender out of the equation is that you should try not to focus on whether or not the characters are male or female. In fact, if you can take your story and swap the genders around and nothing really changes about the story, you're on a really good path. Think about it. Would Harry Potter be any less more interesting if it was instead about the girl who lived? We could still have all the, the terrible things, the Dursleys being assholes that they were. You can have all that build up, all that backstory, and instead have it happen to, little Miss Harriet. And I would argue that you'd still have much of the same story. The reason why this works is the distinction between whether a character is well written or not has nothing to do with whether or not that character is male or female. It has no bearing on that. Even when you're writing a story that deals specifically with women's issues, what readers are going to resonate more with is how said character acts as a person. Instead of thinking, well, how would a woman act in this scenario? You should instead be thinking, how would this person with this set of personality types respond to this scenario? On to tip number 2, and for the love of God, please give your women agency. Now, this tip does apply to main characters just in general. However, I feel like it applies to female characters even more so, once again, due to our good old friend double standards. It seems to me that when a male character lacks agency, it comes off as mad irritating. But when a female character lacks that same agency and indecisiveness, it just is super mad irritating. And I know, vocabulary is immaculate there. Seriously though, some of the insults I hear when it comes to female characters that lack agency are that they are whiny, or they are insecure, or they need a man to tell them what to do, or any number of negative things that you wouldn't want associated with your characters. So how do you avoid this? Easy. You just need to have your female characters pull up their big girl pants and make decisions on their own. And that's not to say that these decisions can't be influenced by outside sources, swayed by, other characters' perspectives or advice or events that happen. Yeah, not saying that. Basically, you want your female characters to be making decisions for themselves, not decisions being made for them. Basically, your character needs to drive the plot forward, not be swayed by, we're just doing this because the plot demands. On to tip number 3, and that is to keep the badassery consistent throughout the story. We've all been there. You're reading a book or watching a movie or whatever you're doing, and a badass female character is introduced. Your MC is in a pickle, they're in a bind, the chips are looking down, and here comes this badass female warrior who just swoops in, saves the day in this grandiose fashion, and it's this big moment filled with girl power, and it's like, yeah, look, she's kicking ass. But then this badass female warrior seems to catch amnesia or some shit, because from there on out, she's overshadowed almost at every opportunity, perhaps even turning into a damsel in distress, all for the sake of making the main character, oftentimes a dude, making them look better. So yeah, she had this one moment of badassery just to now take a back seat. The most egregious example I can give you of this is Asuna from Sword Art Online. When we are first introduced to Asuna, she is a top tier badass waifu material. She's just amazing. She can take care of herself. She can go toe to toe with Kirito, the main character of the series, who, as being the main character, has copious amounts of plot armor. However, by the second season, Asuna is literally reduced to being a bird in a cage waiting to be saved. Well, not a literal bird, but she is in a cage at the top of a tree just waiting for Kirito to come through and rescue her. A complete 180 in character development there. It's terrible. No, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing for any character, male or female, to take a back seat from time to time. That's not the problem. The problem is when that character only ever gets one chance to shine. It's when they're first debuted and then they're designated to the back row, never to be awesome again. Or to constantly even do something awesome, only to be overshadowed by somebody else. It just makes for bad storytelling. Tip number 4, you gotta let your women stand independently. For this tip, we're gonna get a little bit technical. When writing female characters, you want to make sure that your work passes the Bechdel test. And you may be wondering, well, what the fuck is the Bechdel test? Don't worry, I got you, fam. The Bechdel test, named after Alison Bechdel, is a test that measures women representation in fictional work. To pass the test, you need to have at least 2 women in your story, movie, whatever fictional work you're working on. You need to have at least 2 women who talk to each other and it not be about men. Now, I think that's a pretty good place to start. However, we can up the ante here. After all, it's pretty easy to write a story that has, multiple women in it, of which, talk amongst each other, never once uttering anything about a man, and still be, not written well and underrepresented. Instead, I advise you to take things a step forward by writing 2 women in a story whose plot lines don't involve a man. For example, instead of writing a female character whose sole importance in the story is to be the love interest of the MC and be someone for that character to fall in love with on their journey, instead of doing that, give this female character their own subplot, their own personality flaws to overcome, their own challenges to face. Of course, you do still need to work this into the main plot to make sure it's cohesive and it's not just, filler content. However, when you do this, you not only enhance your main story, but you also write a female character who is both grounded, more realistic, and ultimately more dynamic, and is just more of a pleasure to read. And my final tip of the video, remember that all women are not the same. This should go without saying, but common sense ain't common these days. Every woman is not the same. Not every woman is the, flowery, sundress wearing, girly girl type. Some women are hard and cold. Some women are jokesters. Some women are cool and aloof. I could go on, but I'm sure you got it. Now, I'm not saying you can't write what some would consider to be the stereotypical girly girl. If that's the personality you want to give your female character, then by all means, go for it. What I am saying is that this is by no means the default for female characters. In fact, there is no default. Just get the notion out of your mind. If you write every character with the same personality, that same notion of, well, this is how female characters are supposed to be, if you write them with that same thought process, at best, your writing's going to be boring as shit, and at worst, you're offensive. So don't do it. Make all of your female characters diverse, give them their own personalities, give them their own traits, give them their own everything. And that's going to do it for this one, guys. Hope you learned something new, and I'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks for kicking it with us. If you had a good time, go ahead and slap that like button. And if you're new, consider subscribing, because we do this every week. Of course, you're going to want to hit that bell too, so you never miss an upload. Have an awesome day, achieve something great, and we'll catch you later.